just going back through, and I'm sure you'll have questions on the weekend, but going back through it a few times, I thought, some really good things offensively the first half. So a few things that put us in a bad position, specifically transition defense, fouling at times when we unnecessarily didn't need to, that gave them an edge as we came down the stretch. So if you have more specific questions about that, I can go into more details. But going forward to Maryland, a team that a lot different than what we saw on Saturday in terms of how they play, what they do defensively. One of the better defensive teams in our league, and led by maybe the best guard in our league, and Jameer Young. I mean, he's just watching film, and I know here we are in February and we haven't played him yet, so there's you're diving deep in a short period of time. But he's been terrific. He's had a phenomenal year, and then obviously Dante Scott alongside of him and Julian Reese. And then they've got other players, Geronimo transfer from Indiana, other players that have stepped up and filled roles. But I think it really, the film that I've watched and looking at numbers, the usage rate of Jameer has been off the charts, and he's really played at a high level. So we'll have obviously a very good opponent, I think much better than their record. It's just this league is we bop each other around, as you saw yesterday with Ohio State and Purdue, and tomorrow night will be a heck of a challenge for us on both ends.
We'll start with Jeff here, and then
Greg, you mentioned Young, and you've talked about stopping dribble penetration and not fouling. He's a guy, if you look at his overall shooting percentage, not great, but is his ability to get to the line one of the things that concerns you?
He shot as many free throws as Zach Edey in conference play. So that's, I think, and he shoot them at a historically high rate, and Zach is. So, yeah, I mean, his ability, the explosiveness, and we've talked about Chucky changing his body for the better. You see the same thing with Jameer, just how, he's built like a running back, and he is from A to B. He is as explosive and as fast as there is and as powerful as any probably guard in our league for sure. So it puts a lot of pressure on you that way. And obviously the big guy inside, Reese, they work them together in a lot of two-man games. So it's, like I said, that's a challenge because he's coming downhill pretty fast. And he shoots a three well enough that you can't get too soft on the ball, and you can't go under much because he'll make threes on you too.
It's getting late in the season. Defensively, do you think you can make a big jump at this point, or are you who you are at this point?
No, I think there's been signs where we've done it well, and consistency I think is always a thing we're trying to achieve. And some of it's individual based, some of it's been lineup based. I think the numbers I was given yesterday was Saturday specifically. Our starters only played 18 minutes together. And offensively, like we were 1.42. Defensively, we had them under 1. The problem is there was only 18 possessions together. So we've got to eliminate the unnecessary fouls. It was Tyler Saturday. It's been Max at other times. It's been, so we've got to, and there's going to be fouls, and that's part of the game. But we do some things that, we reach and we we fouled 3 times 90 feet from our basket trying to chase a missed shot. I think I mentioned transition defense. I think we gave 12 points in transition. It's not a high number, but in the scope of how the game came out, 11 points by fouling jump shooters. A couple, an and one here or there, foul a 3-point shooter. Those things from the outside maybe don't look big. When you start adding them all up, fouled for 6 free throws off offensive rebounds, fouled in the ensuing possession. So some of it's technique, some of it's discipline to let the defense work for you, stay steady, don't gamble. So I think we've been a decent defensive team at times, and I think we've changed some ball screen things. I think we're getting better at that. But it's the other little breakdowns. can't lose your man. You can't lose vision, and some of that's individual based. Got to be better at fighting through screens. So all those things, it's not one specific thing. It's a combination of all those things together at the wrong time. But I think specifically the unnecessary fouling can, we can't put a team at the line 30 times. I mean, we got there a lot ourselves, but we gift wrapped some possessions for them.
You guys obviously endured a stretch like this last year. Is there differences between it happening in January and February, or is one better or worse than the other?
No, I think there's, you look at, we've had other teams go through it too. I don't look at, because we don't talk much when we've won 5 in a row or 6 in a row or 7 of 8, and I don't worry about or talk about, oh, we've lost X number of how many, or we've won 1 in a row or 2 in a row, or this is, if you look back at the last Iowa game here, it was tight. It was a 1-point game with 12 minutes to go. So going there and having a tight game is not unexpected. It's just can we consistently, be really sharp? And as you've heard me say before, we covered some things early in the year defensively by how we were playing offensively. We just outscored our mistakes. So as you continue to go forward, you have to still be, and I thought we were pretty efficient the first half. Problem was, so were they. Second half was more, of a type of game that you would expect. I thought the first half, both of us were making shots, and they made some tough shots too. You give them credit. They did, but I thought we did enough self-inflicting things defensively to give them confidence. But no, in how they responded, I always said players are more resilient than probably even us as adults are. They don't lament. We went through the film. We broke it down. Some of the same numbers I talked to you about, some other things that I've noticed have been common denominators that have nothing to do with numbers, and then go to practice. And I thought they practiced really well, and they've responded. So, and that's the challenge. You got to keep moving forward. You can't let what's happened in the past, good or bad, hold you in that position, because you got to. We've seen this is a long season. We got a lot of basketball left. Let's get ready for Maryland and take it one day at a time and one game at a time.
Curious how much you talked to John after the game, how he was feeling after getting, game minutes, and what did you see from him, and did you like what you saw from him for a first game back?
Well, I thought he looked like he hadn't practiced in 2 weeks and hadn't played. He had 2 days prior to leading up, but getting back into a game flow. I thought he was better yesterday, and that's to be expected. When you don't get a chance to practice and haven't played, consistently, I thought just he was reactionary most of the time, and when he was healthy, he was anticipatory defensively specifically. I just watched how he got over screens or how he did not get over screens. I thought yesterday he was much better over the screens, back to doing what some of the things he had done prior to getting hurt. So I don't think I should be surprised, or we should be surprised, that there was an acclimation period to getting back to live action, that he just needed to get into live action to get that feel back.
I think a week ago you said 10 to 14 days for Kamari. Still on that same time period. And how much have you missed, I guess, his defensive intensity off the bench?
Yeah, I mean, he brings a spark. He brings another guy that can get up and get into the ball. He's really good at getting over the screen. Some of the stuff we talked about that we face planted in some screens Saturday. He gets over those. So timeline, I don't know. He's supposed to come out of his boot this week, and then we'll see. I haven't talked to Brent yet today to see what it is as we go forward. But everything's progressing fine. He's back in the weight room. I guess he's never been not in the weight room. He stayed in it even when he was in his cast. So now it's a rehab and a strengthening process and acclimate. I don't know if he'll get into some things on the floor individually later this week, or exactly what the week plan is, but I do know that the plan was the boot. He gets out of the boot this week.
Greg, kind of off topic a little bit. We didn't get a chance to ask you about Iowa. Bo Ryan being a finalist in Naismith. I thought you alluded earlier this year to some people doing some things maybe behind the scenes. I don't know if campaigning is the right word, but were you surprised that he made the finalist list? And if you were to state a case for him to make that Hall of Fame, what would it be?
I mean, it's a no-brainer. I mean, you look at the numbers, and yes, we have been very vocal, probably more than ever, and consistently more than ever. I think I've been able to talk to a lot of people that have given me insight to how to continue to keep that at the forefront. I did talk to Bo Friday afternoon after the finals were announced, and he did not know. So he was a little speechless, which was good. It's rare you find him speechless. But we got to make another push now. We got from now until, I know there's a committee of 24, and he needs 18 votes. So we'll continue to push that forward, and hopefully by April 6th, when they announce the winners, they're the inductees, that he's one of them. But you look at numbers, Platteville alone, and I was there for 6 of those. It's the further you get from it, you realize like those may never ever be duplicated. They were video game numbers, 90% in the 90s. I mean, that was the highest of any. Duke was on a run during that time. UNLV was coming off their run. It was the highest in college basketball for that decade anywhere. So I think we can sit here because we're biased and say it's a no-brainer, but when you really step back and look at the numbers and the consistency of it, there's no doubt it's Hall of Fame worthy. Jeff, you got to follow up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same topic.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned Izzo being involved earlier this year, and I'm just curious if you can expand on that. And I find that kind of a little bit humorous because of their history early on in that rivalry.
Yeah. I mean, Tom obviously recognizes the validity of Bo being in, and I know Tom has been a proponent and a voice to help with this, as have others. So it's like I said, I think from those that really understand it and know the history and step back and really look at it, it's a no-brainer. So, but yeah, they're 2 Hall of Famers right there. I mean, I think that's pretty obvious to anybody. Nick?
Yeah, Greg, what did you really like about some of Steve's aggressiveness Saturday? Obviously, getting to the line and what, I guess, how important is that going forward, including his success at the free throw line?
Yeah, I mean, we have to continue to feed him the ball, and Tyler was too. Tyler was, I thought, effective in the post. He goes 6 for 8. Problem is he plays 22 of 45 minutes, so that's you have your other best post player sitting next to our coaches isn't good, and good for us. So, but Steve's aggressiveness, I think that's the thing. Just continue to be aggressive and remind and everybody else to continue to find him. And he needs to be getting to the ball that much. And you look at points per touch; it's pretty good. And then you get to the line 13 times, I think he was. So I think for Steve he's got to be better defensively. I thought Owen Freeman is a really good player, but I thought we didn't defend as well in that regard and as physical as we could have and needed to. So, but yeah, he needs to stay aggressive, and we keep reminding him because he's a pretty soft-spoken kid. It's not natural for him. He's not one of those guys that naturally it comes to him being aggressive all the time. You got to constantly kind of gas that fire up.
You've said all season that you've wanted to find some time for Marcus. I guess,
right.
For the minutes to be more meaningful now, earlier substitutions into the games, why has that been the case of the last couple of games?
Well, one, Tyler was in foul trouble. That put a dent in that too. But I just think, he has a very good understanding of the game. He doesn't go outside of who he is. I thought he has gotten more physical and has embraced that part of the game more, where earlier in his career he didn't. He shied away from that. And he has he can score, he can shoot it. So he gives us another bigger dimension that can put the ball in the basket, and we need some help there. We've got to become more. We're not consistent enough behind Tyler. And when Tyler gets in foul trouble, then we're searching. And we searched Saturday, whether it was Marcus or Gilmore or Nolan Winter. So, Tyler can't put himself in that much of a jeopardy with some unnecessary fouls, a charge, a rebound, blockout, and transition that didn't impact the play other than negatively for us. So let's clean up some of those things and then continue to, Marcus is going to get a crack at it. I mean, we're worked a lot with him yesterday, and but we've got to get some stability and some consistency behind Tyler.
Yeah. On the fouling, though, when you struggle with both over fouling and, keeping people in front of you, I guess, is there a way to, improve one without letting the other fall behind?
Well, it's not so much the keeping in front as much as just the unnecessary, a reach when you don't need to reach. You don't need to slap for the ball when we got the ball in front of us. When a player comes into you, show your hands, wall up, not let them contact hands first. Don't go foul when they've rebounded the ball 92 feet from their basket. All we're doing is send them to the foul. And those one play like that you think doesn't stand out or doesn't make a difference, but you add 2 or 3 of those. Now they're in the bonus. And now a foul that is a foul, there's a physical contact play, there's a bang-bang play for a loose ball, whatever it is that happened within the game. We've already done some other unnecessary things that have put them in the bonus, and then you get penalized for that. So fouling jump shooters, fouling three-point shooters, fouling a guy on the floor and not taking the ball away from him and letting him, get an and one. Those things are just got to be eradicated. And but I think just the hands part of it, the reaching unnecessarily, that doesn't impact the play. You're not doing anything positive by reaching in other than giving the ref and they're calling more fouls. There's been an emphasis to do that because they want more scoring from a national standpoint. So you've got to discipline yourself. I haven't put tennis balls in guys' hands yet, okay, or made them play defense with their hands behind their back, but anything is always a possibility.